Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope everyone had a wonderful week. We are finishing up our long Chorav Zman this year, Baruch Hashem, very successful Zman. And this week we have Parshas Tazriah. And I wanted to share with you a Chassidish Vort on Parshas Tazriah. We are told about the laws of Tzaras, and the Gemara in Erchin identifies a good 7 different Averos that produce this spiritual malaise called Tzaras. The most famous, of course, Mitzora for Motzi Shem Ra, for Lashon Hara, Motzi Ra, for speaking ill, but the Gemara has other Averos also that produce the physical condition of Tzaras, and one of them is what the Gemara calls Tzaras Ayin, literally a narrow eye. Tzaras Ayin, a narrow eye, which means, on the one hand, certainly means an approach to money, being stingy, not being generous, not sharing with other people. That is certainly a phenomena of Tzaras Ayin, but I would suggest even broader than that. It implies a certain narrowness to life, a certain constricted way of life, that everything is challenging and one does not see the good, one does not open oneself up, and this produces Tzaras. So it's very striking. The Chidush Harim points out, I saw this idea from Rav Frand, but if you look at the pasuk at the end of the parsha, Perek Yud Gimel pasuk Nun Hey, so the Torah tells us, "V'ra'oha kohen achrei hu chabes es hanega." So after the nega is cleansed, is washed off, is bathed, so then v'hine, and the kohen examines it, v'hine lo hafach hanega es eino, and the nega has not turned, it has not changed back to its normal color. So then the Torah describes what comes next. But it's a striking language. The Torah says, "V'hinei lo hafach hanega es eino." The nega did not alter, did not change, did not flip. It's ayin. What does that mean? It's ayin. So Rashi is bothered by that lashon. So Rashi says, what does this mean? Lo hafach hanega es eino, lo keha mimariso. It did not dim. The nega, the potency of that color did not dim. So in other words, the eino means similar to, we have the potency, the strongness, the pigment. Sometimes in the Gemara we speak about a pigment, a color, as an ayin. The eye of the storm is the most potent part of the storm, so that has not dimmed, says Rashi. But striking that Chazal tell us that Tzaras Ayin is one of the causes for Tzaras. And here the Torah tells us that lo hafach hanega es eino, is that the nega has not yet turned its eye. In other words, perhaps in order to, Tzaras is a purely spiritual disease. In order to be cured of that spiritual disease, so it needs a spiritual tikkun. It needs a different approach. What caused the avera needs to be cured. So if a person's outlook on life is an outlook of Tzaras Ayin, in order to relieve himself of this malaise called Tzaras, he needs to hafach eseino, he needs to change his eyes, he needs to look at the world differently, he needs to be more generous, more open, there needs to be harchavas halev as opposed to Tzaras Ayin. He needs to have a widening, a broader sense, a broader outlook, a look at the world of not just, again, you have people that are very constricted, they might be undergoing financial stress, and it creates, everything becomes narrowed. A person might be dealing with a relative who is not well, and everything becomes impacted, everything becomes constricted by that. And the Torah is telling us that one has to try to the best of our ability, despite the fact that life sometimes throws us real challenges, to live life with a sense of harchavas ayin, a vision of breath, that there's more to it. I will share with you a personal story. It's pouring rain here. Very rare to have in the beginning of April rain in Eretz Yisrael. We were planning Yam L'Yam this week, and you can't do Yam L'Yam effectively sleeping out in the rain. So it created a real challenge for me, that I look forward to Yam L'Yam. It's an exciting trip. The guys very much enjoy it. And now all of a sudden I felt limited. I felt it affected my mood, it affected my approach, and I was sharing with my family. I was down because of the anticipated rain, what we're going to do, end of the Zman, trip, etc. And they felt, my son gave me some musar. He said, too much. too much. You need to understand that Klal Yisrael, perhaps the Kinneret, we need rain, and one has to have a broader approach. And Baruch Hashem, we made some dramatic changes, and we have a great teal plant despite the rain. But the point of Musar was very well taken. The Chidush Harim then says something unbelievable. He says, you notice that the word nega, which is the theme of our parsha, nega, so there's an ayin in that word, and the ayin is at the end of the word. The last letter of the word is ayin. If you take that ayin and you flip it, you change it. You change the ayin, take it away from the back and move it to the front. Then all of a sudden, that word becomes oneg. And that changes everything. A way of looking at the world. If you look at the world through that saras ayin, so then you're living a life of nega. You're plagued. You're beaten down. If you can change the ayin, take it from the back to the front, and look at the world with an open eye, with a broader vision, with a harchavas halev, then yes, even when bad times hit, you'll be living a life of oneg. It's a very beautiful idea, one I wanted to share, and we should all be zoche as we move into Chodesh Nisan. And I wish everyone a Rosh Chodesh Tov and a wonderful Chodesh HaGeula. We should look at life with an ayin tov, with a harchavas ha'ayin, with a generosity of spirit, and thereby live a life of pure tainuk.